So we have 2 people from Africa, 4 from Asia, 1 from Australasia. Lara, I'm guessing that's you.
Me.
6 people from Europe. We have 4 from North America. Apparently, we have none from South America. So I'm wondering, like, what happened? Because I know Carlos is here. You know, if he didn't fill it in, or he says he's from somewhere else. I don't know. Okay, and then what sort of job role do we have? We've got 17 who are already CX in a CX related role.
Hi, Jonathan. Mexico is North America, I'm sorry.
Say that again, sir?
It's a geographical issue.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Sorry. Yeah. Actually, we wanted to make this an interactive, a global conversation, and I'll try to find someone from South America. But actually, Carlos is actually from Mexico. So, yeah.
Yes, I do work in the whole region, but the question was where I was located, and I'm in Mexico City right now.
Okay, good. Okay, cool. And then, so that's fine, and that's fine. So, the last question that we have is, how much do you want to interact with us, or how do you want to interact with us today? The 2 people said they just want to listen. That's fine. We've got 5 people who say they want to just answer a few polls when they feel like it. And then we've got 10 people, 60% at the moment, who have said, I really want to be part of this discussion. I want to give my opinion. So this is exciting. It's very exciting. So I'll just quickly introduce what we're doing now that we are all here. So who am I? I'm Jonathan Daniels, originally from the UK, now live in Belgium. I started something up called Customer Experience Brussels, which links customer experience professionals together so they can learn, share, and advance their career. On top of this, I work with a lot of customer experience professionals around the world, and I like to bring people together so they can do the same, share, learn, and advance. So that's the purpose of this. Obviously, we're in what we call a pandemic. If you know, before we advertised this meeting or this discussion as managing customer experience in a crisis, but soon we actually realized that it's us who are interpreting that as a crisis, and maybe we were a bit emotional. We chose the topic, so we changed it to a pandemic to be a bit more objective about things. I've got a panel, international panel here, and I'd like everyone to quickly introduce themselves. But before that, I would just say the agenda for today is this. The first topic will be creative ways to manage customer experience during a pandemic. We'll then have a short break. And then afterwards, the next part will be looking at the aftermath of what's happened and planning for the future. So this is an interactive discussion. There's polls, but feel free. What we'll do is there's an option to raise your hand as well. So raise your hand if you have a point to make, or just come off mute and just start and butt in at points as well. That's fine with us. And yeah, just try and enjoy it as much as possible. Just put in as much as possible, because the more you put in, the more you will get out of this. So without further ado, John, do you want to introduce yourself? It would be good for the panel members to quickly introduce themselves, and then we can start off getting into the first topic.
Yeah, so I'm John Hanson. I'm from the Columbus, Ohio area. I'm a customer experience speaker, consultant for small and mid-sized companies. And I'm very grateful to have the opportunity to join this today, and looking forward to hearing all the interaction and discussion on customer experience, how we can do 5-star experiences with what our world's facing today.
Thank you, John. Lara?
Yeah, hi everyone. Thank you for having me today. So my name's Lara, and I'm joining you from very late in the evening in Sydney, Australia. I'm a service designer and customer experience professional that largely works with, through my own company, with financial services. So as you can imagine, at the moment in the pandemic, we've got lots of movement that's going on in ways to support our employees and our customers, having a large reach across a lot of different experiences that are going on. So it's a exciting and a very nerve-wracking time too.
And Laura, what time is it over there at the moment in Australia?
It's 11 o'clock. 11 o'clock at night.
Round of applause for Lara for her effort, you know. It's quite late, you know, so thank you. Appreciate that. Thank you.
Pleasure.
So moving a bit up in the map is Asia. So that is Duong. Do you want to introduce yourself?
Yeah, hello everyone. My name is Duong. You call me Dan. It's easier, right? I'm from Vietnam, and I started my training and consulting in customer experience about almost 5 years ago, 4 years ago. And after 17 years working for several companies in marketing, strategy, sales, and management, and I think I find out my passion. That is a CX. So my current plan is to spend the rest of my life for CX. That's the current plan. It may be changed.
Sounds good.
Okay.
Good to have
Enjoy
someone.
talking to you guys.
Thanks. Good to have someone passionate, you know. So thank you for joining, Duong. I appreciate that. Carlos, next to you, please.
Hello, my name is Carlos Espinosa. I'm from Spain, but working mostly in Latin America, working in clientship. We are a CX advising firm. We also have some VOC platform technology. We are located in Spain, in the UK, and in Latin America. And it's a pleasure to share this time with all of you.
Okay, thank you. And lastly, Mandisa.
Hi everyone, Mandisa Makubalo here. I'm based in Cape Town in South Africa. I'm in the township of Gugulethu, and I run a management consultancy that specializes purely on customer experience management. We focus on user experience design and change management. My passion is really about resuscitating township economy. I find a lot of the times that when we talk about CX, it's limited to large corporates, but I firmly believe that there's a township economy that hasn't been tapped into. And how do I then use CX as a way to resuscitate township economy and really make them understand what CX looks like from a small business owner or a medium-sized business owner? That's specialized.
Okay, thank you for that. So appreciate that. Let's move on in the agenda. Anna Luisa cannot make it. She was going to be the representative from Europe. So so if there's any other Europeans here, please just feel free to step in a bit more. You know, if you were thinking of saying something, just say it, because we need to hear your opinion, because we need it to be a balanced discussion. So let's start off. So creative ways to manage CX during this time. We wanted to discuss this because there's a lot of negative press, negative examples of companies just thinking of themselves, or you know, putting out just being a bit sporadic in their methods of communicating, etc., and dealing with this crisis. So we wanted to look at it from a positive light. First thing, what we will do is a poll. So I've got a poll coming up here, which you should see right now. It says, where are you in your journey towards customer centricity? There's haven't started, just beginning, seeing a return but need more structure, have repeatable processes, or finally the last one is, we are suppliers of products and services. I guess that will feel a lot of people will fill that in. So I will leave that going, but I will start the conversation as well. The first thing that we want to discuss is around empathy, because I think the main thing that some people forget is that it's okay for a lot of us professionals in the service industry who are already used to working from home, etc. You know, I'm working on our laptops, and the main change is having meetings through WebEx or whichever method. But there are a lot of other people who have been very negatively affected, you know, by the coronavirus. So the first thing we want to discuss is around empathy. I don't know if any of the panel members want to discuss, but it'll be good to have your opinion on empathy and why it's important. Probably starting with Mandisa. At the same time, I will actually launch a few other another poll, because I want to really understand how people in the audience have been affected by the coronavirus personally, and also from a business perspective as well. So I'll launch another poll. But yeah, Mandisa, maybe you can talk to us. I know you had some ideas around the different types of empathy, for example?
Yes, so I'm going to be talking about what I've seen in South Africa. And I think before I start doing that is to really just understand empathy, because you have three types of empathy. You have cognitive empathy, you have emotional empathy, and then you have compassionate empathy. And I find that a lot of the times when we talk about empathy, it's quite a broad statement or a broad word that is not really understood in terms of what it is that it means. So if we look in terms of what's happening in South Africa as a country, what I have seen, because we are dealing with a pandemic, and the pandemic, because it's costing people's lives and families have lost their loved ones, and there's a panic and there's an anxiety and there's an emotional stress that people are going through, and companies at the same time, the initial reaction towards what's been going on at the moment in South Africa, you see a lot of cognitive empathy. And when I talk about that, I'm referring to the fact that it's kind of ignoring the deep emotions that customers are going through. We've had the government sending out a couple of press releases recently about what needs to be done within society, within business. And what I have seen from a lot of businesses, large and small businesses, is the response to what has been released by government. It's more of a blanket approach. So you would have companies sending out emails and statements that would talk to what people should be doing around safety and healthy. But there's really no acknowledgement of the emotions that customers are going through in this time. You don't see the kind of empathy that really seeks to connect with the person emotionally. You would have statements that go out that would say, in response to what the government has said about the pandemic, we are complying as a business and we are calling upon our customers to do X, Y, and Z. But there's really no connection at an emotional level with the customer to really saying that as a brand and as a company, we understand and we know what you're going through as a customer, and we feel what you are going through as a customer. And in order for us to continue being there for you as a customer, these are the things that we have put in place. But we also encourage you as a customer to please let us know what are your requirements at this time, so that you can leverage off those requirements to drive the delight that is needed in the customer journey at a time like this. Okay. So there's less of an emotional connection that one sees. There's more of a cognitive approach in terms of communicate with customers at this point in time. And that's quite common across small companies, medium-sized companies, and your large organizations.
Thanks for that. And guys, it'd be good, for instance, Lara or Duong, how's it looking over your side? Are you encountering the same issue of a real lack of empathy and companies just sticking to what they're complied to do, or are you noticing something different?
Yeah, and look, I might jump in here if that's okay. For those who aren't aware, Australia has been hit again and again and again over the last summer. We've had years of drought. That's something that Australians are relatively used to, but it's gotten pretty bad. Then we had bushfires like none of us have ever seen. We then very shortly had floods that wrapped through and rushed through all of the properties that had been on fire, taking away a lot of the topsoil and removing a lot of the potential for those farmers to recoup quickly. And now we've obviously, like the rest of the globe, been affected by this pandemic. So it is one thing after the other. And I guess my question is, for what I'm interested in seeing, is Australia kind of hitting a point where we are having empathy fatigue for that real emotional level and really starting to step back into that individual mindset? We saw some fantastic initiatives come out of the bushfires. So just some examples. For those who don't know what this is, an esky is a cooler. So we had this great initiative called Empty the Esky, and the idea was to take an esky to different parts throughout regional Australia and really purchase up some produce from farmers, etc. And we have lots of different examples like that. And these things have already quickly been forgotten in a pandemic. So how are we kind of still supporting those really vulnerable clients from previous, crisis? I think the other part of it is, the dust hasn't settled for us. We're still very much in the thick of it, like the rest of the world, pretty much. Obviously parts of Asia are certainly maintaining things a little bit better at the moment. So how are we helping our customers find their feet in the world? And it is through empathy. But as Mandisa has articulated, I worry that it's only remaining in the cognitive stage.
Okay, thanks. Duong, what about yourself or Carlos or anyone else for that matter? It'd be good to get everyone else's perspective. So we've had the African and Australian, but in terms of empathy from North America or South America or Europe, what is your experience? What are you guys experiencing at the moment?
Well, in Mexico, at least, and in Latin America, I think people is still trying to adapt themselves to what is happening. It's so unexpected that it's not easy to assume that the playoff field has dramatically changed and maybe it's not going to be anymore like it used to be. So what I feel around is people trying to adapt to the new situation, trying to control the fear of what is going to happen, and trying to live on daily basis, trying to do the tasks you have to do today, not thinking it tomorrow, better to keep on moving. And I think we are still in the middle of the storm, so it's difficult to know what we have ahead. So I think we are trying to practice this, not thinking too much towards, but on today, and what can you do to improve your chances to, let's say, survive to this dramatic crisis we are dealing with.
Okay, one thing to say, I've put a poll out there and half the people have responded so far. If you haven't responded, please just have a look at it. It's just asking how badly have you been affected on a personal level in terms of emotionally, financially, or health-wise, and how badly has your company been affected as well. It'll be interesting to know that. Anyone else from the audience got any comments around empathy and the importance of empathy during this time? If you do, feel free to speak up at this stage.
Hi, Jonathan. If I can say a few things. My name is Katerina. I'm from Greece, and we're trying to drive customer experience in Greece as a consultancy. A few things on empathy. We have some of our customers that are calling us and they're telling us, we have our employees who are sitting at home and we don't know what to do with them. Can you help us? This shows to me that most of the clients don't understand empathy, because most of them have not even thought about, let's do a daily catch up. Let's just talk about the elephant in the room. So I think the leaders of companies find themselves lacking these human skills that will help them deal with the situation. And they're asking consultants, help me do this. And in reality, we can help them so much, right?
Yeah.
So for leadership, I think now is the time, it's an excellent time to help them understand what is empathy through coaching. So I think that's a great opportunity. On the other hand, we have businesses that are trying to show empathy to their employees, businesses that are at the center of the development, like retailers, supermarkets. They are announcing in Greece, for example, all the retailers that are operating, all the supermarkets, that they're giving away 5 million euro as a bonus to all their employees. That's a lot of money standards. So they're trying to do things, but they are more on the functional side, on the cognitive side, as oh, I forgot her name, she talked about it before. They're not investing on how can I help you manage your emotions. But I think it's a lack that the managers have, the leaders have. They don't know what to do with it. So the intention is there, they just don't know what to do.
Okay, thank you very much for that, Katerina. You're based in Greece, is that right?
Athens, Greece, yes.
Okay, real pleasure. Thank you for that. So,
hi, my name's Mallory Elias. I'm in the U.S.
Yeah.
And I work as a CX analyst, so more on the analytical sides of things. But we're really trying to figure out how to ask customers what they need and what we can do for them, while trying to understand that they're so overwhelmed and going through so much that we don't want to add more to that plate. So I was wondering if anybody has feedback on how to balance that empathy with being useful to them or with being productive for the customer.
Thanks. Lovely question.
Jonathan, can I maybe try and respond to that?
Yeah, go for it, Mandisa.
And I'm hoping that I'm going to, my response is going to help you. But what I'm thinking is that a lot of the times, I know in South Africa, we are, I think, on day 6 of the lockdown. And some companies have been in lockdown for far longer than we have been as a country. But I believe that there is still a voice of the customer, even in a time like this. You know, there's a voice, and that voice might be different to what you normally used to as a company. And it's just for companies to really try and find a way of just listening to that voice and capturing the information that's coming in. So the behavior that you have now from your customers might be a different behavior to what you are used to. The transactional data that you have, whatever data that you have, it might be different, but it still provides a voice for you as a company. I think we've got to be careful in saying that we're still trying to understand what's going on. I think a week's behavior or weak data is enough for you to make assumptions as a brand. Look at what has happened for us in South Africa within the first week of the lockdown, you know, and what has been the behavior displayed in those times, and how can I take that data from week 1 to make improvements in week 2 and in week 3. I'm going to make an example of a retailer in South Africa that listened to the online community, where there was a recommendation that was made about opening the stores between 7 and 8 in the morning to allow the older people to go and shop at a time where there's less traffic in stores. And when they responded to that, they said, we thank our online community for this feedback. And as a result of your feedback, we have implemented a shopping time that is only allocated to the elderly between 65 and above to go to our stores between 7 and 8 on Wednesday, and they will get double points for shopping in that time. So that's a perfect example of capturing the voice of the customer, even in a time of a pandemic.
Yeah, and I might jump in here as well, actually. So I also think it's really important not to discount the voice of your employee. And this is a great opportunity to really bring in any surveys that you can do there. So very similar in Australia, we now have, we're calling them vulnerable hours. So it's not just for the elderly, it's those who may, suffer other reasons why they need to get access to a store earlier and are still not able to find things on the shelves. So what one of our major supermarkets is doing in partnership with our major mail service is doing basic boxes, and those boxes get shipped out to our vulnerable Australians who can't find the long life milk on the shelf, etc., because people have gone in and taken it. Which is a really good initiative that actually came out from one of their employees. The other thing that I wanted to say is talk about a financial brand that I'm working for at the moment. So a couple of things that we're doing is, one, we've changed our voice of client questions to be much more open-ended, to be getting a lot of the information in. And we've got teams who've been recalibrated and repurposed to be analysing that verbatim that's coming in. Plus, we're putting decision makers on the front line to support our call centres and our service centres. So overnight, I think it was last weekend or the weekend before, a lot of the service centres operate outside of Manila, for Australian big corporates, be it banking, insurance, etc. We usually use our service centres in Manila. And overnight, everything was closed down, and people needed to very rapidly, jump on the phones. So we've got key decision makers from each department being assigned to handle our customers' queries. And obviously that's triaged with what they're able to vulnerable clients, but they're actually hearing some insights that are really actionable really quickly. And because there's certain levels, they're able to move and make decisions really quickly and get things prioritized. So that's the other way that we've kind of really quickly pivoted to, be a bit more fluid with the data and a whole lot less formal than we would be if times were normal. But it's definitely showing that it's got traction.
I love that. So introducing more open-ended questions with voice of customer programs or initiatives. Also getting the key decision makers to actually be there on the front line. Driving and helping to solve the customer problems. I think those are excellent examples. Guys,
so I also want to give a bit on that one as well. I think the methodology already given by Mandisa and Lara, right? But I know that about human, a lot of people that they need help, but they don't proactively ask for help. That's a lot of people. So if you ask them, you want to help people, and you proactively ask to help them, I think they will be very happy. So there are many ways to ask, to get feedback from the customer. Yeah.
100% agree there. Important point. Just to say, guys, if you have any questions and you don't want to speak, you just want to put it in the chat, that's fine. You can put the questions in the chat. John, he's the co-host. He's helping look at all the questions in the chat and manage those. Can you guys see the result of the poll, by the way?
Mm-hmm.
Can you see? So looking at this,
Yes, we can.
Excellent. So we have the first one. How badly have you been personally affected by the coronavirus, emotionally, financially, or health-wise? There's a few, 14%, so 3 people have said no, not a real major problem. 20% basically have said it's impacted me indirectly, so friends or family members. Put it like this, even for me, I just got off the phone with one of my uncles, and he's lost his job. He's been given 1 month's notice. So there's people who are going through stuff. Some have been directly impacted. 30%. That's quite a lot as well. And then I don't know. I'm just confused. No one's ticked that, which is great. And then from a company perspective, organizational perspective, what's been the issue? So 5%. One person's actually benefited in this period. I would be very interested to hear from that person. Maybe they want to explain how they've benefited from this period. Maybe they can't. Maybe it's confidential. But if you're that person and you want to speak, please come off mute and please talk, because we want to hear how you managed.
Hey everyone. Yeah, can you hear me? This is Allison.
Hello.
Yes.
Hi, I'm based in the US, and so my company is a conversational marketing platform. So we do virtual chatbots and live messaging. And so because we're so heavily focused in the virtual space, we have had a ton of interest in our products and services, actually. Unfortunately, hopefully we're helping people get connected in the virtual world by coming onto our platform. Obviously, trying to be reasonable about how we're interacting with everyone during this crazy time. And we have certainly lost customers as well who have gone out of business, but lucky to be in kind of the digital virtual space during this time.
Okay.
And don't discount how much you are helping businesses reach their customers. Like Duong said, that's allowing people to proactively ask. So certainly don't shoot the fact that, this situation is assisting the business. It's also assisting customers.
Yeah. So my company is called Drift, and we actually have made some specific like COVID-19 playbooks for online chat for our companies to deal with customer inquiries and business. So it's been interesting to see for sure. Thanks for that.
Hi, my name is Solana Brielle. I'm in Massachusetts in the US. And I work for a market research firm that works with high-tech companies. And I've seen a mix of both. I feel guilty saying in some regards we are able to garner more business because our analysts do analyze what's going on right now with COVID-19 and how it's affecting the technology market. And so we've been able to push out content right away to try and assess what the financial implications are for each and every type of technology that there is. So in an effort to be empathetic towards our customers, we have tried to push out some free content and an internet site that has a lot of free information. However, we are also losing customers and losing businesses, so we do have to charge for some of it. So we're trying to strike an important balance between getting information out, helping our customers, showing empathy, without also, going out of business ourselves. So I've seen a little bit of both, but we are using a lot of empathy. All of our emails to our clients, sending out, asking how they're doing. We're trying to do more video contact on our calls instead of just, without the video. We're finding that is bonding us towards our clients. And one more comment I just wanted to make about the empathy in general. I feel very blessed to be working for a fantastic company. It's called IDC, and we're also part of IDG. And our CEOs have been amazing, and they have been checking in with us and sending us emails, making sure we're okay, really acknowledging the parents who have children at home that they have to watch while simultaneously doing their job, and just telling everyone to go and take breaks and take walks and alternate their schedules if they have to because of childcare. So it's been really helpful to work for a company that is so empathetic, and then we are able to be more empathetic to our clients, I think, because of that. So it's just been all around, the best that we all can do.
Thanks for sharing. And what's your name? Sorry, I didn't quite catch it.
Sure, it's Alana Brielle.
Alana. Okay, and where are you from exactly?
So just outside of Boston.
Okay.
My company is located in Framingham, Massachusetts, and
okay.
International Data Corporation is the long name for IDC. But it's been I talked to a company yesterday that actually has a technology that is able to track if people are wearing masks and have a fever or gathering in crowds in airports, and just to be able to help that company help the globe with something like that. I just feel very honored and privileged to do a little bit of something to help in the crisis.
Wow, thanks for sharing, Ilana. It's been really interesting. It'd be good to hear from some others who have said Corona has caused major issues for us, including loss of business. It'd be good to hear a few examples of some firefighting that's happening, or just because it's good to get a good mixed perspective. So
okay. Can I add something? Go ahead.
Yeah, go for it.
So hi, I'm Karen. I'm from Israel.
Hi.
Hi. So first of all, thank you for this call. I think it's extremely important and very encouraging to hear everyone. And what we're doing, we're working with the Qualtrics, again, technology like the other two ladies have mentioned. And Qualtrics has built free of charge surveys for voice of customer and voice of employee that are adapted to Corona. And what we're now doing is offering help for the public sector, for the government and the healthcare providers that are based on these solutions. So it's, and we offer this with the minimal price just to make sure that we cover costs. So again, I think that it's possible to do both things like finding a way to help everybody actually in the country in these hard times, and also to make sure that we cover our costs.
I like that. I like that. Thank you for that, Karen. Appreciate that. And it'll be good to hear. Is it from Bram de Vos? Did you have some?
Yes, thank you. I'm struggling with my internet connection here to make things even worse. But yeah, thank you. What I wanted to add is to follow me. I have a company we work for. Yeah.
Where are you based first? Just tell us.
My company is based in Belgium.
Okay, cool.
I'm not that far away from you, Jonathan.
Okay, perfect.
So I have a company that's called Hello Customer, and we are that provides a software as a service to collect and analyze feedback. And we concentrate on analyzing free texts. So that's what we do in many languages. That gives us an insight into how customers are actually coping with what's happened to all of them.
Yeah.
And I can say that, on one hand, you see that most of the customers that we have are using the tool to measure the feeling with their employees. So they're starting to use it more to see how these employees are doing, what they can do for their employees, how they are feeling. And another bunch of customers is starting to use the tool and the analysis that we offer to understand better what their customers are actually looking for. And they do that by simply inquiring, how are you in all of this stuff that's going on, and what can we do? And people can write whatever they want. And it's very interesting to see what comes back from that. That's something that we see. That being said, to answer your question, Jonathan, about how it affects us, at the same time that we see an increase of usage by our existing customers, we also see how our marketing and sales trajectories are now coming to a halt because budgets are being frozen all over the place. And so everything that we were doing is being harmed dramatically. And only today I come from a management call that we had a couple of hours ago. We decided to put some people in a non-active situation and that way also diminishing their wages. So it's impacting us heavily. So it's a tricky time. So yeah.
Okay, thank you for sharing that. Yeah, so yeah, it's getting difficult, it seems like. It'll be good to hear. John, John's managing the questions for us. John, are there any questions at the moment that anyone's asked?
Not at this point, but I'm following that chat. I'm also making sure that people, as they join in, are admitted right away. So I'm managing a few things at the same time. So I'm watching the chat. If you've got questions that you'd love to have discussed, this is a great forum to do it. So by all means, throw it in there. And then Jonathan's going to ping me and we'll make sure we have a Q&A time set aside after each one of these group sessions. So definitely make sure if you have something on your mind that you'd like to discuss or a question to a specific panelist, by all means, go ahead and ask it and I'll make sure we do that. Okay,
thanks, John. Really, I want to move on from empathy and we'll go on to local stories, So what we wanted to focus on here is people sharing some positives from around the world of people going out the way to help deliver even a better customer experience in this time. As we're all customer experience professionals, that in a crisis or in a problem, when a customer's facing a problem, it's those times where they're going to remember you the most, So I just wanted to go around and look for some positive examples from all the different continents to find out how people are giving an exceptional service even during this period. If you have any examples, just feel free, just raise your hand on the chat and then we can get to you. I think.
Can I?
Yeah.
I have one.
Go for it.
I have one from yesterday. So it's one of South Africa's major banks. I won't mention the bank's name, but I was very pleased with what I saw yesterday. So my daughter and I went to the bank yesterday, and when we got to the bank, it was nice and empty, and they were doing everything that they can in terms of complying with the health and safety requirements. From the time you enter the banking hall, being sanitized, and they would drive you and lead you in terms of where to sit and make sure that as we're sitting in the banking hall, we are observing the compliance requirements. And what I loved is that when we were leaving the bank, and we needed to use the ATM to get some money. There was 2 other foreign ATMs within that same space, which were belonging to 2 different banks. And the gentleman from that bank actually said to us that we can go and use the other ATMs, because what they have done is they have adjusted the fees so that when you draw funds at a foreign bank, you won't get charged what you would normally get charged for using a foreign bank, but they've made an arrangement that the fees that you will get charged at a foreign ATM, it's the same as what they would charge you as a bank. So I was quite pleased to hear that.
Wow, sounds good to me. Sounds good.
Yes, yes.
Thank you. Anyone else got any more positive examples of some good customer experience during this period?
Yeah, I think just to add on to what Mandisa said, sorry, hi, I'm Zuri, I'm from Cape Town, is the one nice thing that they also did, and I know this because my parents are pensioners, so what the banks have also done is that now when you go and draw your pension at an ATM, previously they would charge you a certain fee. They've actually not charged any fees. So pensioners are now drawing their funds with no fee at all. So that was really awesome.
Yeah. Yeah, I think.
Great. Oh, sorry, John.
Go for it. No, go for it, Laura. But yeah, it does sound excellent. It sounds excellent because really what they're doing is there's companies who are trying to profit from this, which is profiting from people's confusion and people's stress, you know. But so it's great to see the bank stepping in at this stage, to be honest. Laura, you were going to say something? And Katerina, you can probably get in afterwards as well.
Yeah. Sorry, Katerina. So look, like I described myself, I'm a service designer. So often it means I start at the employee experience angle to drive out to improving the client experience. And I think something that's pretty exciting about this time is that as our government announces in Australia some stimulus packages to support employers keeping employees. So there was one announced, I think it was just yesterday, that fortnightly payments will be given to employers to then pass on to their employees, even at reduced salaries, etc., so that they can keep people in their jobs. This is allowing companies to really innovate and kind of push employees into areas that they might not have worked in traditionally. So an example of that would be, and I'm actually sitting at one of these desks at the moment. We have, obviously, the music industry has been absolutely devastated, and the arts industry. And we have an awesome like backdrop and prop company called Stage Kings, and obviously that's now redundant. So they very quickly pivoted and kept their employees on by building all of these flat pack desks that you can just really quickly assemble and stack on top and then quickly take back down in case you don't have the space in your apartment. And they've just gone gangbusters from that really quick pivot, and their whole intention was just about keeping their employees. So it's really cool to see innovation like that come out. I think the other thing that I just wanted to talk about is more community level rather than business level. So in our capital, which is Canberra, for those who don't know, they were really recognising that parents were really struggling, and it came up before, right? That they've got kids at home and they've got to entertain them, but they can only go a certain at that time a certain distance. So we're not in full lockdown yet, although it's anticipated to be quite soon. So what people did is they stuck teddy bears up in their windows so that parents could take their kids on like a treasure hunt to find the teddy bears and a teddy bear picnic. But from that, a company has kind of gone, well, look, we've got employees who are kind of sitting around. Why don't we develop an app where we can document, all of the different bears, and then people can write the stories to those bears. It's a free service that parents are doing. So, there's fun little things, and who knows what comes from that community level innovation.
Really nice, Laura. That was very interesting.
Okay, I also can add something to that.
Yeah, go for it, Laura.
Yeah, so in Vietnam, the government also sponsor for the poor people, employee that they don't have a lot of money, so they make sure that they don't get fired. So the government sponsor for the employer to keep employee, right? So the second one is quite fun. This kind of the one pizza company. You see this one?
Yeah, I can
The
see.
pizza.
That's a burger, isn't it, Duong?
This one pizza company. They make the burger with the shape of coronavirus, and it goes on the. So a lot of people want to buy, right? It goes on the CNN and BCC News. It's from Vietnam. Yeah, people want to eat the coronavirus. It's like a Halloween because you are scary about whatever, and when you eat it, you're not scary anymore, right? Yeah, this is kind of fun.
I love that. I love that. I love that. Thank you. I just can't stop laughing. And I think there's some other people who have. There must be a few people in the audience who've got some relatives.
Jonathan, just a couple of examples from Greece. I'm not sure if this has happened around the world. I'm pretty confident it has. I think we were one of the first countries to go in lockdown very early in the coronavirus process, and this is why we have pretty low. For our population, the spread is contained pretty low. So it was, I think, the first thing, schools closed. I think 1 or 2 days after that, when it was announced that you can no longer leave your homes, Domino's sent an email and they launched within 2 days the contactless delivery. So you order from the app, and as long as you pay with a credit card, and you select that option, they just leave the pizza at your door, and the delivery person backs away so that you don't come in close contact.
So it's like it's same as normal pizza delivery, but this time they just drop it at your door, so you don't touch each other. Is that right?
Exactly. So you don't come more than 2 meters away, if you choose to do that. And I think now, 14 days later, almost every delivery chain are doing the same thing because people are actually looking for it. Another thing that the banking sector did is they increased the limit for contactless pay without PIN. So you can, so there was a limit to how much you can use your credit card on a contactless transaction without using the PIN. So they increased it across the board so that people don't have to actually touch the touchpad. But I think the greatest example in Greece is the government itself. So as I told you, it was, I think, 2 days after our first incident that the country went in lockdown. And it's amazing, and you know, this is Greece, right? How fast the government tried to solve the problems they were creating for the citizens. So in record time, we have services that they used to be only person to person, more than 550 services, government services, they are all now online, which didn't happen. I mean, we would need 5 years to go there. But I think it's the reaction that makes a difference in a crisis. So it's not what you do, but it's how you do it and how fast you respond to the problems that your customers have. And sometimes trying to solve it is better than waiting until you have the best option.
Yeah, couldn't agree more.
So speed, reaction, and you know what? Solve it together. That's what we tell our clients. Don't be afraid to talk to your customers. Don't be afraid to try. Put them in the process. And one final comment, and that goes to Lara's point. We have a lot of customers that have idle people, and they're asking, as I have a call in 30 minutes, what can we do? And what we're doing is designing value propositions and customer journeys, redesigning them because there is time. Before, it was such a big problem figuring out when we should organize that customer journey. When should we do this? And this is a great opportunity. We're doing it at half the cost. And there are clients that we might do it for free for now because they're in the tourist sector. They don't have any income. We give plenty of payment facilitation, so they don't have to pay instantly. They can pay when their income starts coming in. But it's important enough for us as consultants to really help them solve the problems that this crisis has created, and they need to do it now.
Okay, thank you. Really appreciate that. Some really excellent, interesting examples there. So thanks for that, Katerina. It'll be good to hear from the Americans and from the South Americans, like any case studies or positive examples of people going out their way to deliver excellent customer experience during this time.
Yeah, well, there's a repair shop that has offered at no charge to use their tow trucks to go and pick up people's cars, take it to their shop, and do a check over. If things need to be fixed, they'll send an estimate to them electronically. And if nothing needs to be fixed, they'll return the car again at no cost. So it's a way of, it's like pickup and delivery of your vehicle to get inspected. If you know something needs to be fixed or just a basic oil change, it's a way to help people feel where they can shelter in place, but still get things taken care of that need to get done on a large scale where you're talking about an automobile. But that was, they did that 2 weeks ago. So that was ingenious before, kind of towards the beginning of this, for them to be thinking outside the box like that. I thought that was ingenious.
So John, they actually come and pick up your car, like drive it to their garage, check it, fix it if it needs fixing, and return it to you while you sit in your house.
And no charge for taking their truck out. It keeps their people employed. It gives them an opportunity to show that what matters to them is people's safety, both their health and for their vehicle. And if there is something that people know they need to get fixed and they haven't had the time, well, now's the perfect time to do it.
Okay, sounds excellent. One thing I want to do just before we continue, there's a lot more people on the call, probably an extra 15, 20 people to where we started. So I'll quickly launch this poll again. But if I launch it, it's going to reset the results. But yeah, I'll launch it just to find out where people are from, what their job role is, and how much they want to interact with us. So any more comments or any more positive case studies? We want to hear where people have seen or experienced companies going out of their way to really delight. And while that's going on, please fill it in, keep filling in. I can see everyone filling that in, so thank you. In
Mexico, Jonathan, there is still a lot of people in the streets because the measures to control coronavirus have been decentralized on the states. So you have states that are really trying to maintain people in their homes, but not in all cases. So it's quite irregular, the situation, comparing one state with the others. But for instance, in Mexico City, most of the retail closed yesterday only, to maybe too late. We have still, of course, supermarkets and pharmacies open. And maybe the unique measure we have implementing is the same that Greece did with the delivery, with contactless. Uber Eats and all the platforms are working this way. But I can see today, this sense of lockdown that in Europe is evident, and not in our case. So let's see the consequences we'll have for this.
Okay, thank you for that. It would be good to hear from Debbie in the audience. Debbie, you're calling in from Nigeria, I guess. Yeah.
Yes, I am. Hi.
Hi, Debbie. Yeah, it would be good to hear.
Hello, everyone. Cool. Well done, first of all, putting this together. I've really learned so much, understanding what different brands are doing across the world. So for Nigeria, there's been a pattern around individuals and organizations, contributing funds and resources to fight the spread of the virus. But I'm thinking to highlight 3 that I found truly remarkable. This is in direct impact to brand experience and customer experience as well. So one of the leading banks in Nigeria actually on their own set up 100 bed, fully kitted isolation center and donated that to the state government, the state where I'm at, which is in Lagos. So fully kitted. I thought that was really, really good. Like they set up the whole thing and handed it over to the state. Another is a telecom provider. What they've done is for postpaid customers, usually they will terminate your plan if you don't pay within a certain timeline, but they have extended it, right? I thought that was really good as well. Then for an ISP, what they've done is they upgraded all their customers. So if you're on one plan, you upgraded to the next plan at no additional cost so that you can stay connected with work and with loved ones as well. Yes, I thought to share that.
Wow, thank you, Debbie. I think that's amazing. It's good to see. I guess, yeah, they're understanding that there are a lot of people in financial difficulties because of this, because it is a big curveball also. Really appreciate that, Debbie. Good to see that Nigeria doing their best there. Really excellent. Anyone else got any more stories before we move on? John, you mentioned there was a question, was there?
Yes, it's actually directed somewhat at Lara. Michelle in our group asked, interested because she's in financial services. What could she do that's more human during the time? It seems like the personal experience that they're very proactive on the media side of things, getting messaging out, but it doesn't seem like it's rolled down personally. Lara, what would you recommend for financial services in particular, but this could be applied to any business? How do you get past the media communication to where it's feeling like there's a human connection or purpose behind it?
Yeah, great question. And I think, take the situation that we're in at the moment out. That's actually a question that we always have to ask ourselves anyway. How do you have that human interaction, particularly for financial services? No one really loves engaging with their insurance or, loan. So how do you make that more personal and get those really sticky customers? But then add in the layer of crisis where you're actually dealing with extremely vulnerable clients. I think comes back to what Duong said before about actually asking them how they're going and not being afraid to lean into those questions. So look, I am sure, like in many countries, Australia is relatively regulated in the questions it's allowed to ask and the advice it's allowed to give in financial services. And what we've actually decided for our front line, myself included, because I'm now on the call. Whoever that is, do you mind just turning yourself on mute for a tick? Thank you. So, myself included, I'm now on the calls as well, helping out our front line, is giving us as employees the ability to make decisions on the go without a huge kind of stick mentality afterwards, or you shouldn't have said that to the customer. The other thing that we did really quickly for this particular brand is create an online form that actually directs, helps us gather information around what our customers are actually experiencing. So we know their financial products, we know what they have with us. We're allowing them to engage with us to say, this is the, these are the services that I'm unsure I'm going to be able to pay, be it through from transaction through to a product that they have with us. And that would pop up on their app when they came with it, and that required a lot of employees to work really hard over the weekend to get that done. Does it look as schmick as it should? Absolutely not. Is it on brand colors? Probably not, although you'd hope that we have at least a good pattern library where we can do that. But what it has done is that it's allowed us to, on bulk, really quickly have conversations that are actually at that personalized level, because you're asking and you're using the data with that.
Okay, thank you for that. Gabriella, I think you seem to have a question or a point to add.
Hello. No, I want to share some experiences. Hello, I'm Gabriela from Romania. I work in banking. In the company that I work, but not also in this bank. In Romania, the government came with a law that permit to customer to ask to postpone the monthly installment from their credit in order to avoid the block of their income because of the instability of the incomes, because we already know that some industries actually close their their door, like restaurants, hotels, and so on. Another experience that I want to share is that we send like an empathetic email to customers, remind them that they have an insurance already paid for unemployment or healthy. They cover the problems in this period with COVID.
Okay.
This is a proactive measure. For employee experience, was very good that CEO transmit at some days, encouraging message and ensuring that our jobs are sure. They pay all our salary, but we are also working from home. And we also have like a well-being program, making yoga and mindfulness from home through Zoom.
Oh, okay. That sounds interesting.
Yes, yes. What I observe also in supermarkets is that they have like a voice announcement to customers that they disinfect from 1 hour to another the space and the shop trolleys. So ensure the customers that they are safe in their supermarkets and they are open full program and there is no problem shopping from there. And what I already also observed is that they have a lot of products. There is no problem with that. So actually, clients don't have to come only in the morning to find bread or something like that.
Okay, I appreciate that. Thank you.
Thank you.
Very, very much for that, Gabriela. I think it would be good to go to the next poll quickly. And John, at the same time, I will, if you have any questions, feel free to manage those. But before, I will just say, so when is your quarantine period likely to end? I've launched that poll. Please respond, because it would be good to know which month different people have. Maybe you don't actually know, you know, maybe it's already ended for some of you. It'll be good to know. John, are there any more questions that are coming through?
Not yet, but I'm tracking those as well as responding to people's comments as they put them in the chat. So feel free to share through chat or ask questions. Either way, we'll make sure that if you have a question, we will definitely get to it to keep Jonathan updated as questions come in.
Okay. To be honest, I want to move to the next topic. There's two more things to point out. Two more topics that we'll discuss today. Top tips for managing customer experience through this time, and then managing the aftermath and future plans. So I want to just know, do you want me to just kick straight into these topics, or do you want us to have a 2 or 3 minute break? Because I know that we've already been over an hour in. Maybe some people want to just disappear for 1 minute or something like that. Let me know, please.
Quick trip.
You want to have a break, or should we just continue on? You'll be good.
We've got one vote that says onward.
Onward? 2 minutes, please.
Yes, 2 minutes.
Let's continue again. I'm happy to continue. People want to continue, guys, so sorry. Let's continue. Let's go. Let's go. Let's crack on. All right, so please continue that poll. Should be a poll on the screen right now. It's asking you, when is your quarantine period likely to end? Just try and answer it as best you can. Only one person's answered it so far, so I'm guessing it's either not working, probably. So I'll end it and put it back in again, relaunch. Okay, and at the same time, we'll move on. So top tips for managing in the pandemic. From my perspective, just to add, I think for me, it's the first thing to do is to start with the customer journey. Split your customers down by who are affected, how are they affected, and then go from there. I just wanted to point that out. But let's move on. So let's go on. Duong, I know you had some examples you mentioned around remapping your customer journey as well. It'd be good to hear your perspective on that.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. I think because we have been talking about the empathy, right? Of course, that is very important. But at the same time, that people also try to survive. They try to sell something in order to maintain the company, right? So we have two things. The first one is, I think the customer behavior is changing. So they have a different motivation, they have a different needs, different objectives, different habits, and of course you still have the customer, but they are different today. So sorry, by persona, you need to redraw the persona with different motivation, objectives, habits, and needs of the customer. So I just say you have the same customer, but the same relationship, but different needs. So you need to redraw the persona. So you're not trying to sell something that they don't have a demand right now. So you need to find something that they want to have, and maybe they don't want to have the products and sell some other products. They also have a different objective. They need more safety, right? They need more safety. So they also have a different pain point, different challenges. They have a different emotion. So people need to redefine their persona. That is first thing.
Like that, Duong.
In order to fill in the need that they need today, the emotion that they have today, and the objectives that they have today, it's totally different. So you have a same customer but different.
Thank you.
Same relation but different customer.
So we've got Duong who mentions we need to redefine the persona and review the customer pain points at the moment. So thank you for that, Duong. Carlos, you mentioned that mentioned how different we discussed before about how different customer experience departments in Latin America are dealing with the crisis. Do you want to share a few top tips from yourself?
Yes, Jonathan. Yes, for me, it's surprising how the CX departments are reacting to the crisis. I would have expected them to be a little bit freeze because of the urgencies and the workforce trying to reshape the way they deliver the service, but it's quite the opposite. I see we are working very much with the CX departments now these days on projects for the future. I think that they are taking this extra time. They are in their homes to think on future strategies, to think on future needs of their companies. So we are having a more strategic discussions with our clients than the usual, the standard discussions we used to have that were more rush, more on the short term. So it's great. We are working on some very, very interesting projects for the future related to engagement, to change management, to customer-centric culture. So we're pretty much optimistic on the future. And I think once this quarantine goes away, a lot of really amazing initiatives will start in many companies here. So it's good news.
Thank you for that. Thank you for that. That's interesting. So you've got a bit of time to basically just gather and think and do a bit of strategic work.
Yeah, exactly.
So yeah, the idea of working on your business rather than working just in it.
Exactly.
I like that. And going to Africa again, Mandisa, any comments around this side? Like basically some really short top tips that people can use to really deliver great customer experience during this time.
I actually have 2 points. I'm reminded of a statement that Ian Golding said during the masterclass recently, that it's something that I think Jack Welch wrote a while ago, is that a lot of companies spend so much time in finding and winning customers, and there's little investments made in terms of keeping customers. And I think now with the pandemic that's hit the entire globe, this is the best time to spend and make investments in keeping your customers. You know, for companies that have always been focused on the sales strategies around finding and winning customers, the challenge right now is to find ways to keep customers. And the only way that you can really do that is to really just spend some time in understanding their requirements. I agree fully with what Duong has said, that you still have the same customer, but it's just that now their needs are different, which is very much understandable. And I mean, even for those brands that have the best products and have always been banking on the fact that we have the best products, this is now the time for you to start thinking beyond your product and really starting to make that investment around keeping your customers. And the only way you can really keep your customers is by sharing in their pains and emotions and really just understanding what it is that's going on. I know that we have a lot of companies right now that have been, I would say, vomiting information at customers. And I'm sorry for using that, was spewing information at customers, which can be overwhelming in dealing with the pandemic. So this is the time now to listen to the customers' feedback, to watch and follow customers, and updates, and just really give feedback to them, showing that you are listening to what they have been saying, and just really be for the customer and not about you as a brand.
Okay, I love that.
Yeah.
So supporting your customer and also looking at the whole product experience, not just focusing on the little thing that you do, because we in customer experience know about the complete product. Someone else was going to
just one more.
Go for it.
I just add one more? Yeah. So it's also come to the customer journey. You also need to redefine the customer journey, right? So where to go to where your customer are now, because before they go for, I just give you some example, right? For example, you are running a restaurant. Before the customer go to the restaurant, the first thing that they take your car, go try to the restaurant, park the car, go to the restaurant, order the meal and eat the meal, payment, right, and go home. But now they only have a 2 touch point. That's their home and online. So you need to look at again the customer journey, then try to redefine the customer journey and serve your customer by the new journey. It's not the old journey anymore. So you still need to make the best customer experience with a new customer journey. I just give you some example. One of the travel company, right? The travel company, they know that people cannot gather together. So they import from local specialties from everywhere in the country and sell it to the people in the capital of Hanoi. So they change. And another company is like Uber, but in Vietnam we call B. The company is B, right? They are doing transportation that carry people every day, but now they cannot carry people because no people go anywhere. So they just go shopping for people. So it changed to shopping service company, something like that. You need to redefine the persona and redefine the customer journey in order to serve the customer.
Love that. And looks like you got a lot of fans on the chat as well. They're saying, Duong, we love your points, good points, so keep it up though. And that goes for you as well, Mandisa.
Thank you.
Jonathan, can I just say something that just came to mind?
Yeah, go for it.
And I think this might talk to Laura's point earlier on about the voice of the employee. What I am finding is, as much as we're talking about what companies can do for customers, there's also a requirement for companies to start making investments in their people as well. And what I mean by that is that I'll give you an example. So I have my daughter working from home at this point in time, and she's expected to attend Zoom calls every morning between 10 and 12. And what the company has not done is to provide the data that she needs for her to be able to connect to those conversations. So I'm having to supply that for her, and she's expected to be in those conversations and be active. And I have a friend of mine as well that works in a contact center, and she's currently working from home in the township, but she's struggling in terms of getting a stable connection at home. You know, so then imagine the frustration that she's feeling, and at the same time, she's expected to deliver this delight to a customer. But on the one end, she's so frustrated because she's been given this device at home, but the location where she is not conducive. It doesn't allow her to get a stable connection. So she's frustrated. The customer's getting frustrated on the one end. So there's also got to be cognizance to the fact that the employees needs to be taken care of so that they can deliver and drive the delight that is needed with customers.
Yeah, I second that so much. And, you know, again, this is me coming from the employee angle, so I apologize. I don't always do it, but I think, you know, this is where all of the work in diversity, inclusion, in wellness, in hopefully transformation around things like agile is helping to prop up businesses to be able to do this. I did just want to circle back to the customer retention piece, because I do think that that's a really exciting time, and for those who have been working in the industry for a long time, you know, it's going to be exciting for us to not always have to battle the, oh wait, this is another sales project. Actually, here we are. We can actually start having retention discussions and people are listening. So the thing that I think is really important to be doing at this time is closing the loop. We often talk about, you know, co-creation with our clients. We talk about that with our employees. So how can we be providing information in a way that's digestible, that is actually saying, well, you gave us this information and this is what we've done with it. So, you know, we're hearing this from our customers, therefore we've put this online form up to make it easier for you, etc. The other piece that I just really wanted to drill home is we always talk about in CX moments that matter. Let's not kid ourselves. This whole experience of people calling up or engaging with whatever channel in a pandemic, those moments matter. No matter how small they are or how big they are, everything is going to be stringed together underneath that title at the moment. So these moments are the bits that you need to really make sure that your employees are propped up to deliver that delight, like Mandisa was saying. I think that this is where if you can empower your EX, to drive a better CX, then you're actually going to have such a reputational strength afterwards that you're going to have long-term longevity of loyalty that you wouldn't have dealt with otherwise. That stickiness just won't be replaced. So I think that's a very exciting opportunity for us, but it's about getting these moments that matter, not right, but reacting to them, I think.
I love it. I love it. I love it. And wow, yeah, loving that. Powering your CX through EX, because we know it starts with the employees. Anyone else got anything else? Sharon or Gabriella or Valentina or Nash, any more positives or best practice things you want to share? Kenichi or Vijay, anyone else? Just calling out names here, trying to get it interactive. No, in that case, John, any more questions before I move on?
No questions. Great interaction, though. As I'm seeing the chat, there's things coming to mind while people are sharing. I think this is really kicking up the interaction. I'm so glad to see it. No questions specifically yet, though, Jonathan.
Okay, great. Some really great points there. So looking at the polls, so I asked, when is your quarantine likely to end? We got 35 people who've said in May, well, 35% in May. Same amount in April, which is this month. So some, and a few in June. So it's looking like, you know, between this month and next month. So that brings us to the next point, or the next topic, which is around the aftermath. So if you think about it, we're in the phase now, we're in the pandemic right now, but it's going to tail off. And the question is, how are we going to clean up all of this? And what things are we going to do to sustain and think and to plan for the future? So we're looking at sustainability and long term, and also we're looking at the cleanup situation as well. So I think it would be good if we hear from probably Carlos to start off with. Probably we want to hear about how we're going to be managing the situation after this tails off, basically.
Okay, thank you, Jonathan. Well, I think that, of course, after the health crisis, we are going to deal with the economic crisis. So this is what is going to start, hopefully, let's say May, June, in autumn, September. We are going to start a deep economic crisis, maybe deeper than the one we suffered in 2008. In Spain, I think today we have published the unemployment data, and it's like 3 million people that they have lost their jobs in the last month. 3 million people. Wow. So of course that means that the pockets of the customers are going to be empty this year and the next year. People will have to deal with getting back to the routine of having a job and having some money in the account to sell stuff. So my point is that we are going to go back to basics. Companies will have to reshape their value proposition to more simplistic products and bundles of products, to more simplistic solutions. They will have to be very accurate on pricing. And that means that, again, our customer journeys will have to be maybe more flat, more simple, of course, with some extra digital interaction. But when the retails open again, people is going to go to the shop to buy anything. And I think maybe we'll go back some years in the sophistication of the solutions we have been playing with these last years, and we'll have to think in the citizens that have a lot of problems to finish the month, to deal with their basic expenses. And this is going to change our profession too, because we have become very sophisticated this last couple of years, and maybe we're going back 10 years to make things working, simple, and affordable for the customers.
Okay, so yeah, there's going to be a lot of lives that we can say are broken actually. So we have to put this into perspective. So yeah, I love what you said there, Carlos. It's very real. It's a difficult situation we're going to be in. So thanks for that, Carlos. It'll be good to hear from probably from the audience as well. What problems do you envisage for your organization? And well, yeah, we'll keep it with the organization, not make it too personal. After the pandemic is over, it'll be good to hear from you guys. So have a think about it. And feel free to write it up on a piece of paper and put it like that against the chat, or feel free to type it in the Q&A, or feel free to share. While you're thinking about it, it'll be good to hear from Lara around customer expectations after the pandemic.
Yeah, no problem, Jonathan. And yeah, look, I echo your thoughts very much, Carlos, on, this is one wave of a few waves that are going to hit, from health to the economy to even just prioritization in people's lives as well. So things that I'm anticipating is customer hesitancy is going to continue, and that normal decision making that we may have previously mapped out isn't actually going to exist. That balancing act of do I need it or is it a must have is probably going to continue for a little bit as well. And therefore, as Carlos said, that need to really demonstrate value for money is going to be super important. But let's not discount that people will still pay more if able for more of that human interaction, as long as it's efficient and still allowing them to live whatever best life they can in that circumstance. I think the other thing that will be really interesting is we're going to see really distinct archetypes come out of this for different brands. So those personas that were spoken about, I really believe that there's going to be really distinct groups and a few outliers, but not many people sitting in between. So, how do they approach a problem? We're going to see some really strong data around there. I think the other thing is, how are small businesses and their clients of banks like the one that I work for, so how are they going to keep momentum up when they're hitting that kind of economic crisis? And I think we're going to see a lot more prototypes and really low fidelity innovation come out and continue out in the market. And therefore customers are actually going to get used to the idea that things aren't maybe as slick, or things will be failing quicker, and they can give their feedback too. So they're things that I'll be definitely looking out for, or anticipating that's going to come.
Wow, love that, love that, I love that. I love the part about the archetypes, and also the fact that, yeah, at the moment what's happening is we're seeing some companies who are looking at the customer journey, seeing that it's changed, looking at the new archetypes, and then producing products and services to support and make life easier. So I think what you're saying there is excellent, and it could just be that. So let's move on. As anyone else, I think Mandisa, you had a few points to mention.
Sorry,
around...
Yes.
And Mandisa, I'm so sorry to cut you off. I've just noticed a question from Michelle that's up there around if anyone thinks that customers' spending or consumer behaviours will change permanently for this pandemic. I mean, look, I don't know. I definitely think that where people put their money, you see in times of economic crisis that cash is king. So I do think that, and that's happened, from the GFC and beyond. I do think that that's something in the financial world that we'll see, is there's a real hesitance to take out loans and a large deposit book growing. So that will be something, but in other areas, I'm not too sure. It will be really interesting to measure that. And I think that if people have time now, this is sort of the rigor and structure they should be putting in place to be tracking data. Sorry to cut you off though, Mandisa.
No.
It's okay. I think maybe to add on to your response to Michelle, I definitely do foresee a change or a shift in the consumer behavior and the spend, which will be driven by what's happening in the economy. Because as a result of what we are dealing with right now, some people are losing their jobs. Companies are also changing their business models and re-engineering their service delivery models. So that will definitely bring a change in terms of consumer behavior. I know for me as a consumer, definitely there's going to be a change in my spend and how I've been doing things as a result of what we've been confronted with now. So sorry?
You're generally spending a lot of money, is this why?
No, there's more. John would remember what I said yesterday about being cost efficient. So if there was any recklessness before in terms of spend, I think now, because of what we've been hit with, and people were required to buy and stock up on food items at home and essentials. If you were not a person that had a culture of saving before, you would have definitely felt the impact now. And it's really just now starting to say to you, save up money, because you don't know what's going to happen in the next 6 months. So there's definitely going to be a different behavior from customers generally. In response to your question earlier on, I think for me, I do foresee a change or a requirement to review the business strategy and your customer strategy as a result of the pandemic that we are confronted with. I do really think that companies would have to find a way of making their strategies, I wouldn't say pandemic resilient, but there's got to be a requirement to review your business strategy and your customer strategy, because you need to find a balance between the business strategy and your customer strategy. So as a result of what we are dealing with now, it has to start with a change and a review of your strategy. And then you can do everything else. But if you're going to change things at the lower end of the scale, neglecting the strategy, it's going to cause a lot of problems in the long term for a brand. So I do see that companies would have to relook their business strategies altogether. Even from an employee experience perspective, your recruitment strategy would have to be reviewed at some point in time as a result of what we are confronted with. And that's going to drive your employee experience. So I do think that as a result of the pandemic, there's going to be a big requirement to review strategies for many businesses, whether you're large, medium, or small. But now it's the time for you to review your strategy, which will help you to shield your company and your employees and your customers from the impact of such pandemics.
Thank you, 100%. So 100%, a lot of companies are reviewing their strategies at the moment, but also we as CX professionals can point out the importance of that customer experience strategy and that customer strategy. So appreciate that, Mandisa. John, would you like to give us an update? Because there's a lot of questions coming out. You're managing the questions bit, so maybe you can, yeah, I'll hand over to you, I should say.
So 2 questions. One is, and I love this question, already there's been discussion about a month or so down the road, have a much better grasp on how this is unfolding, and then what has been the CX progress that people have seen. So we had already discussed this beforehand, Jonathan. People are asking, how can I be notified as we're not on the CXPA forum? I don't get those messages. My understanding is that there's going to be regular messaging going out from you on when this next one, so through LinkedIn, Instagram, whatever your social media platforms, you've got multiple ways that notifications will be coming out well in advance of this next event that we'd love to hold, as this has been of great value. Is that correct?
Yeah, can you hear me? Yeah, thanks for that, John. I think what I will do is I will put in the chat right now the link to subscribe to the mailing list. That way, if you guys just click that mailing list and sign up there, that way you will be notified via email. I mean, we'll do our best to put everything on social media, but to be honest, sometimes it's difficult, you know. We try and post regularly, but yeah, it can get a bit tricky in these turbulent times.
Also, she's been very patient. She had her hand up, oh gosh, for several minutes. Sharon wanted to share something with us, so I'd love to hear her thoughts before I have something to say.
Okay, sounds good.
Oh,
Sharon, you're on mute at the moment. You're on.
Yeah.
Okay, go for it. That's fine. Oh, we can't hear you though. Okay. There we go. I heard something now. It's okay. What we'll do is we'll carry on to John, and then John, as soon as you finish, hopefully we'll get to Sharon. Hopefully she will resolve that. Okay, go for it, John. You wanted to make a few points as well?
Just 2 quick ones. One is that Zendesk released a global survey, 1,400 companies in 140 plus countries. And they identified in the next 5 to 10 years, this was pre-pandemic, by the way, next 5 to 10 years, that know, like, and trust would be the driving decision behind purchasing going forward on a global level. So what happened that this pandemic has triggered, I believe,
that's working now, Sharon.
Audio's working now, but it's creating an echo there.
Okay, cool.
What I think has happened is that shorten the curve. Rather than 5 to 10 years out, what I think is now going to happen is that know, like, and trust, this pandemic will help prove what companies people are more likely to trust. What are they doing that's not just pushing information, but what are they doing to connect? What are they doing to stay connected? What are they doing to empathize? What are they doing on an emotional, not just a cognitive or an information spewing level, or just mirroring the government said this, so we're doing this. Rather than being reactive, they're being proactive. That will help businesses, and I'm already seeing this undercurrent on social media of people's responses to companies and how they're doing these proactive measures, how they're taking care of their customers, how certain CEOs are waiving their salary and their bonus for a whole year so that their frontline employees can be paid. All these empathetic, proactive measures are showing that this is a company that can be trusted. This is a company I want to do business with. So that's one thing, know, like, and trust, and I think that's going to spark it very quickly. Rather than 5 to 10, now I think we're going to be looking at this next coming year, we're going to see people starting to shift their buying of who do I trust based on how they responded to this pandemic. I see it all throughout social media. The second thing is that I think we also need to have a fresh perspective on who a customer is. I discovered this just last year, and it's one of those things in the CX world that I've not seen yet. So I'm really working to take this mainstream, is that customer discovery is typically reserved for identifying paying customers we didn't know we had. But I actually pulled out my old dictionary from college days and I looked up the word customer, and it comes from the Old English. So Europe gets the win on this one. Customers are basically people we are accustomed to interacting with. We put dollars and cents to it, but at its origin, the word means someone we have a regular relationship with. Well, with that freshman paradigm, that's where I identify there's actually 4 types of customers, not just the ones that pay you, but also the ones that are external, the ones that pay, internal, the ones that are on your team, on your leadership, your suppliers. The third one is your inner circle. You bring your families to work with you, whether you physically do or not. They come with you. Your close relationships, your mentors and coaches in your life. So if you're not identifying those, then the fourth one, this was the one that really just blew the paradigm out completely. The most important customer, and Lara touched on it earlier, through wellness, the most important customer that people are notorious for neglecting. And this pandemic has helped identify your most important customer is you. If you don't take care of yourself, there is no way you can take care of everybody else, those other 3 types of customers. So self-care is notoriously poor, especially for small business owners or for entrepreneurs, but key leaders. How many people take care of themselves? You cannot pour from an empty cup.
Yeah. John, I just want to say that was fantastic. If anyone's wondering why is John coming up with such profound and great points, he's the author of 7 Ways to a World-Class Service. So yeah, I've just put that book in the chat just in case you want to have a look at that, because it's an amazing book. Moving on quickly, even though I need time to ponder on what John just said, but it'd be good to hear from Sharon. Let's see if your mic's working now, Sharon.
Can you hear me?
Yes, loving it, and love the all those little post-its in the background as well.
That's my customer journey map. Yeah, so I've just come out of the aviation industry, and that for me, I'm really interested to see what happens next. Obviously, aviation in the UK has been hit massively by Brexit and now by this pandemic. So it's been a bit of a double whammy, and we've lost several aviation companies over the last year and before that. I was kind of wondering what's going to happen. So obviously with a lot of companies now not letting people fly and moving to digital and really embedding digital now while we kind of experience this, what that's going to do to airlines who before would have sent people to do face-to-face. Obviously there's going to be some hesitancy around people going to airports when this is lifted, and the virus is still there but kind of not dead. Kind of, you know, people are still going to want to fly potentially or have to fly, but be a little bit hesitant about going to airports and being crowded onto flights. I'm interested to see what happens there. Some people are going to be desperate to get on holiday, and others won't have the funds. People being made losing employment, etc. So really interesting time, especially with the airlines to get back up and running from a place where their fleets are completely grounded and their crews are on standby or not working at all. It's going to be interesting for them to get from a kind of complete standing start to back up and running a full fleet as they were. And I don't know if any of you look at flight radar, but at the moment there's barely any flights at all anywhere. It's just it's very strange. So good case study to look into, I think, as we come out the other end of this.
Yeah, here.
Yeah, TSA, the government organization that does the pre-flight screenings here at the airports, they said they're at 8% of what they normally screen. So people are still flying, but far fewer than were before. What I think is cool in that space, if you look at Virgin is one of those perfect examples, Southwest Airlines is another, in an industry that's notorious for poor service. Why are they disrupting? And I think you've got to look at, they identify and engage all 4 of those customer types extremely well. They're going to come out even stronger from this. Southwest Airlines flew for free doctors and nurses into New York City to help with the pandemic. It's just another way that someone else shared it, by the way. Southwest is not bragging about doing this. it's another way that people know, like, and trust someone that's outside of what's typical in that industry. So the companies that see this as a long-term game are the ones that are going to do those types of things because it's the right thing to do. And then the publicity and the positivity will come on the back end and not from them. The media will do a good job for them.
Yeah, I think also with that, what's really interesting about a lot of airlines, if they've really worked on their loyalty programs, so they're actually ahead where it comes to that closing the loop. You know, you did this activity, therefore have X amount of points, or, you know, as John's been articulating as well, it's, you know, different loyalty programs have been, you know, tapping in tapping in wellness or insurance and those sort of angles. So they've really got a lot of customer data too. Obviously, they're very high cost models. So, you know, being grounded just is more and more cost. But I thought, Sharon, I'd give you an example of something that I went through recently. I was in the US visiting my brother when I was told that I needed to get back to Australia ASAP because they'd be shutting borders. Being from Australia, we obviously get quite used to long distance on flights, but it means that we also get quite loyal to which airline we fly with. Now, I'm a Qantas girl. I really insist on flying with them when I can because of the loyalty programs. But it got to the point where when we landed, everyone on that plane clapped and cheered for our air hostesses because they found out mid-flight that none of them had a job when they returned. So it was really, really hard, and they just handled everything with so much grace. You know, a few of them shared what had happened. And it's moments like that, like, you know, obviously I can feel it in my body now, which will make me continue to be loyal. And I really hope that when this lifts, we'll see a real resurgence for that loyalty of brands, particularly in the aviation industry. It's a hope, it's not a knowledge, but I'll certainly be supporting Qantas.
Interesting. Thank you for that, Lara. And I think, Mandisa, did you have something, a point regarding reconnection and integration? I don't know if Mandisa's still on the line.
Yes, I'm still here. Oh, sorry, my mic is on mute. Your question, Jonathan?
Yeah, I think you did have a point, but we can check with the others because I see a lot of chat going on there. So we'll check with the others. But I know you had an interesting point around reconnection after the pandemic calms down a bit, if you remember.
Oh, yes. I think in our conversation, we spoke about trying to incorporate the principles of business continuity.
Okay.
As part of your customer journey, because there's considerations to be made around how do you then integrate your people, your business partners or customers back into the business that has been disrupted as a result of the pandemic. Yeah. Because some companies would have people that have been positively impacted by or affected by the virus. So you gotta start giving thought to which areas of the business will be responsible for integrating people back into the system, and you gotta have thoughts around which spaces of the business will be responsible for reconnecting your customers, your suppliers, and vendors back into the ecosystem. And then you also start thinking about if people are operating in different locations, which locations are you going to start reconnecting back into the system? Which critical functions are supposed to be reconnected? And how do you prioritize those in terms of reconnecting them back? Because all of that would, in a big way, it will impact your customer experience. So there's got to be thought applied to those things.
Yeah, I think what was interesting about what Mandisa said is normally when you think of business continuity and disaster recovery, managing a business when something is seriously wrong, you normally think that's going to last 1 or 2 days. Now we're in the situation where it's been like for some companies over a month, and we can see it heading for another month or a month and a half. So I think at this point in time, the point that Mandisa his point was that us as customer experience professionals need to be inputting into the business continuity piece and the business continuity plans. You know? So I thought that was a really interesting point. John, I'll head over to you because there's a lot of chat going on. Was there any points that you want to point out from the chat or any comments? I think at this stage, we're going to have to probably end soon. So it would be good to get those points or questions from the chat. And also at this stage, it would be good that it would be good if people have more topics that they would like to deep dive into. I think we can do further sessions and go ahead for a more deep dive. I think I like the format where it's more of a discussion thing. And yeah, so if you have any ideas for future topics, then please let us know in the chat. But yeah, John, I'll head over to you quickly for if you can just.
Three things. One is that people are saying definitely 30 days out, let's reconvene on this. Let's say what gains have we seen, what wins have we seen. Maybe by then we'd have a good handle on how things, maybe we're on the downside, we've hit the plateau, the crest of things, and it's starting to taper off, and we're seeing kind of light at the end of the tunnel. It's not another train like Australia's experience. Hopefully that's the last, fingers crossed, right? The last for this year, at least anyhow. Two comments that were in the chat that I really liked. One was, you know, as people are looking to be more, companies and people are looking to be more conscientious of the environment. One of the plus sides of this has been that smog levels here in the US cities are way down because there's just not as many people and vehicles and everything out. So, you know, nature gets a break too. And people being out in that are getting their 6 feet of space, but they're getting out in the good weather. A lot of people getting more exercise. That's good for wellness. And I think people taking a break, they didn't realize how busy they were and how little they were investing in themselves. This can hide time. So having all this available time all of a sudden can help strengthen relationships that may have been somewhat neglected. But then someone else shared too that the companies that have not been investing into CX, they can't all of a sudden just jump on the bandwagon and expect it to immediately change overnight. So the companies that have already been doing this are light years ahead. This is the critical time coming out of a pandemic or while we're still in it. It's not a lost cause, but if companies do not intentionally invest into CX now, there's a very good possibility they'll always be playing catch up, or even worse, they may go out of business because they were so tone deaf to customer experience. While you may not be able to always directly tie it to ROI, it is your future. You have to invest in this intentionally, or long-term, your business could be in serious trouble. I know that's not a very positive way to end it, but for people that are in the CX world, I'm seeing a lot of concern that our jobs could be going away. I think it's the other way. I think it's you're going to become someone that's highly valued because you've had all this experience all these years where CX was kind of in the beginning phase. Well, now we've proven that every human touch point really matters. Who can I bring on board that's internal to our team, that's fully invested and puts all of their time and energy into this focus? CX professionals are going to become more in demand after things settle down, I think, than before.
Yeah, hear to that. And, you know, it's about encouraging other people to buy into it too. Look, I know we need to wrap up, but I did want to just quickly cover off on the sustainability bit. And I know that I saw a comment there on someone saying, you know, there's some silver linings in sustainability. So look, I absolutely acknowledge that. In terms of personal, there absolutely is. Emissions are down from travel, etc. But if we look at the case study of Australia with our supply chain with food, we've got quite a centralized system. And I would say that a lot of systems across the globe when it comes to food is actually the same way. So you've got two major supermarkets who may take food from one region, bring it to that centralized location, only to send it back. So actually in these times, we're really seeing how unresilient and also how ineffective our supply chains are. And just to riff off what John was saying, I think this is also spaces where we can play. So, you know, it might not be the initial area that you thought you'd end up in, but it's where we can really help inform and help innovate to actually make, smoother transactions, much more resilient supply chains, and have, you know, much more effect on not just business continuity, but also our systems and social continuity too.
Yeah, those industries that are considered to be blue collar, or perhaps like manufacturing, supply chain, transportation, all those industries that you might be considered like they don't have necessarily all the dollars that the financial services or the insurance or the banking or the retail has, where they really focus on the human touch points. But if you can help understand or help educate them of the fact that every human touch point in your organization, if we address that, they'll be light years ahead of the companies that don't. Absolutely. Yeah. Manufacturing in particular here in the States has that challenge ahead of them. Yes. More open positions than bodies to fill. How do you do that? CX.
100%. Guys, we're going to have to wrap up shortly. At the end, I will share a little video just with some music for you guys to enjoy. But I just want to say thank you very much to the panelists who've attended. John, Carlos, Duong, Lara, sorry, and Lisa.
Thank you,
You get it right, Jonathan.
Yeah, thank you. And thanks for everyone else who's attended. So what I'll do is I'll look at the comments to see what we can do for the future. If in the comments, we've put a link to subscribe. So try and subscribe to our mailing list. And also, if you have any suggestions for future topics, let us know. And yeah, I think we can end it there. And anyone else got any questions or comments before I go to the music?
And just for a housekeeping note here, if you subscribe to Jonathan's list, I promise you that there is not going to be any kind of sales going on. It's just so that we can stay connected. If you choose to buy, that's great, but there's not going to be any pitches. It's so that we can make sure that as we stay connected going forward as a community, that everybody's on the same page in a very easy, seamless way. As there's so much on social media, we don't want this opportunity coming up to get hidden in all that information that's coming out. So by all means, subscribe. I'd love to have you in that community.
Yeah, 100%. We're not spamming people.
I just add a little bit more, just about the digital transformation. In my country, a lot of people want to do digital transformation, but they talk more about technology. But digital transformation is more about behavior, about experience, right? And now with the pandemic, a lot of people understand it, and I think it's good to move on with the strategy of digital transformation.
100%. So thank you for that, Duong. At this time, we'll end the call here. I'll share Sandra Daniels' a little video. It's just a music video. So thank you for everyone for attending.
Thank you, John.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you, everyone.
Thanks.
Gonna take a sentimental journey. Gonna set my mind at ease. Gonna make a sentimental journey to renew old memories. Packed my bags and got my reservation. Sent each dime I could afford. Like a child in wild anticipation, long to hear that all aboard. 7, that's the time we're meeting at 7. We'll be going up to heaven, counting every mile of railroad tracks that take me back. Never thought my heart would be so yearning. Why did I decide to roll. Gonna take a sentimental journey, sentimental journey home. Seven, that's the time we're meeting at seven. We'll be waiting up in heaven, counting every mile of railroad tracks that take me back. Never thought my heart would be so yearning. Why did I decide to roll? Gonna take the sentimental journey, sentimental journey home.
Oh, thank you, Sandra and Judah, for that. Thank you, guys. Have a great rest of your day and have a great week. Thank you. Cheers.